The beekeeper's now going to take off some honey. There's some ripe honey, so he's going to take it off. So first he has to clear the bees out of the super, out of the honey box. And he does that by using these little one-way valves. So the way they work, the bees go down through the hole and then they go out between these little springs. They move apart to let the bee out, and now the bees can't get back in. So it's like a one-way valve. It only lets the bees go out of the super, it won't let any back into the super. So he puts 2 of these into a clearing board, and now he goes into the hive. So this is the super he wants to clear. So he simply lifts the super and he puts a clearing board under it. And puts on the top, and the bees will now feel that they're trapped, so they'll go down through these little porter bee escapes, we call them, these one-way valves, and when the beekeeper comes back in 24 hours, the super will be clear of bees and he can lift it off and take it away to extract it. 24 hours later, we come back to take off the honey super, and we check that the super is clear of bees, and indeed there's hardly any bees in there, so we can lift it off and take it away and extract it. So we've now taken the box of honey, the super of honey, back to the processing room, and here we have the frames of honey, all sealed with the little wax cappings. So what we'll do first, we'll uncap the honey, and so we uncap using a knife that's been heated in hot water so that it doesn't get too sticky, and then I'll slice off the cappings. So I try and take off the minimum possible so as not to take too much honey. And here we are slicing them off. And we just have a filter cloth here that the cappings go into, and any honey will run through into the bucket below, and we can collect that later. Okay, so we have to do the other side because there's a mid-rib of wax, and the bees build comb little cells out from each side, so we need to uncap both sides. And once we get it uncapped, we put it into a centrifugal spinner, spins it round at high speed, and the centrifugal force spins out the honey out of the cappings and leaves the cappings empty. Now it's uncapped, so we're ready to put it into the extractor, and it'll go into the extractor like so, and as it rotates, the little cells are pointed slightly upwards towards the top of the frame. The bees do it that way to hold the honey in when they're processing it, and because it's like that, we can spin it at high speed and the honey will fly out from both sides of the frame. This is called a radial extractor. Okay, so now we do the second one. So exactly the same process. That's what that is. And that's us ready to put the second frame in. Right, so now we've got 9 frames uncapped, that's what the extractor holds, and we've got them all loaded in, and we're now ready to start it spinning out the honey. You get rather sticky doing this. The beekeeper's wife always notices that all the doorknobs on her doors get very sticky when the beekeeper's extracting honey. So there it is, we can see it flying out. If you look down the side, maybe you can just see it, maybe the light's not good enough.
There you can see it.
Now we can show it's empty. So the cells are now all empty of honey, and we can give them back to the bees, and they can store more honey. So now we've extracted the honey in the extractor, and it's all in the bottom of the drum here, and we're going to filter it, the honey. So we put it through a coarse stainless steel filter first, and then a fine stainless steel filter, and finally through a 300 micron filter cloth. So we put them in here, and we open the valve in the bottom of the extractor, and this valve, beekeepers have a special name for honey valves. They call them honey gates because they're made for handling viscous fluids. They slice the fluid off when they're closing. So we open the honey gate, and out comes the honey into the filters, and we just give it time to go through the filters, and then we would leave it for perhaps a day or two for any air bubbles to come up out of it, because in spinning it out in the extractor it will have added a little bit of air, so we wait till the air bubbles come out, and then it's ready to put into jars that you see in your supermarket. So there we are, that's most of it out. So we can now shut the honey gate and leave it to go through the filters. Now we're going to bottle or jar some of the honey. So we take the jar and we open the honey gate, and out it flows, fills up the jar. The beekeeper checks the weight, make sure he's got the correct weight. That one's good. Now we do another one, and that's the honey in the jars. So we put on the tops, and now we put on our labels. Our label needs to state that it's honey, Scottish honey in this case, and the name of who's producing it or packaging it, and the weight, 227 grams, half a pound, the best before date, and that's the honey now ready for the market. Lovely Scottish honey.